Begin today the Gemara on Davov, 10 lines down from the top of the Yamud, Ibaya Lahu. So the Gemara here is discussing the halacha of the beginning of the Perek, Lifnei Yidayan, that before the holidays of the Avoda Zara, you should not do any business dealings with the guy, different details that the Mishnah mentioned, and it said it was 3 days. 3 days before, you shouldn't do these dealings with them. So Ibaya Lahu, the Shaila was asked about this, Shloisha Yomim, when it says in the Mishnah 3 days, what does that mean, 3 days? Hein ve'ei dayan. Does it mean 3 days which includes the holiday itself? So it's in total 3 days? Or it means 3 days besides the day of the holiday itself. So there's the 3 days before, and then you have the day of the holiday itself. So it's really 4 days that you shouldn't do the business with them. Huh?
The Gemara has that always. Is it just 3 or the
okay, yeah. Okay, so that's the shaila over here. What's the meaning of the 3? Toshama, so the Gemara says, let's bring a raya from the next Mishnah. And here it says, Rabbi Shmuel argues with the Tana that we learned in the first Mishnah of the Perek. Here, the first Mishnah says that this is only 3 days before. But Rabbi Shmuel says, Shloisha lefneyen, 3 days before, and Shloisha lachreyen. And also 3 days after the holiday is also not allowed, asr, to do the business dealings with them. So the Gemara says from this lashon, it's mashma, that it does not include, the number shloisha does not include the day of the holiday itself. Because isal kedaita hein ve'edeyen, if you're going to say hein means that includes the day of the holiday, so Rabbi Shmuel, so then it's very strange in the language of Rabbi Shmuel. So that would mean that when he says in the beginning, shloisha lefneim, so that shloisha lefneim includes the holiday itself. And then the chashav l'hula b'saif, and then when he says shloisha lachreyan, it also includes the holiday itself. If the term shloisha includes the holiday itself, so then he should have said shloisha lefneim, and that includes the holiday itself. And then afterwards, he should have said, and another 2 days. He wouldn't. Why should he say the before and the after, and both of them are including the holiday itself? So from this, it's mashma that when it says 3, it means 3 before, and then there's the holiday, and then there's 3 after. So the Gemara says, not necessarily is it a raya, that Aidi, Ditani, Shloisha Lifneim, because it said 3 in the number when it said the days before, and there the number of 3 did include the holiday itself, so Tananami Shloisha Lachreya. He already uses the same term of 3 after, even though it's really only 2 after, because he already included the holiday in the 3 before. He should have said it's only 2 days after. But once he says 3 before, he says the same term of 3 after, but really he means to say that it's only including with the holiday itself. Tashma, the Gemara says, there's a brayse said the Omer of Tachlifa bar Avdimi Oma Shmuel, or this is a brayse, he said in the name of Shmuel, that Yoim Echad LeDivri Rabbi Shmuel LaElam Asr. That Sunday, Yoim Aleph, the first Sunday, this is the day that the Avoda Zara consider it to be their holiday, just like there is Sunday today, but I think the Rishonim here say that it's not necessarily referring to the Sunday the way it is today by the Christians and so on. It's referring to then, and the Isman of the Gemara, that time where the Sunday was by the Bavliim, that were mamish of the Avoda Zara. I mentioned at the beginning of the Perek when we started the Masechta that there's a discussion in Rishonim regarding today, and most Rishonim say that it doesn't apply to the Sunday today, and it's not the same of the Avoda Zara that it was then. But here it's talking about in those times when Sunday was a holiday for Avoda Zara. So the Brisa says, or Rabbi Shmuel that is said, the Divrei Rabbi Shmuel, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that says that it's 3 days before and 3 days after that you can't do business with them. If so, la'olam masar, you can't do business with them forever. Because if it's Sunday, so then that means Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is out, 3 days after, and the 3 days before, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. Says the Gemara, but if you're going to say that the 3 days before and 3 days after means including the holiday itself, so then so you still have Wednesday and Thursday, because it would mean Friday, Shabbos, and Sunday, so it's the 3 days including the day of the holiday, and then Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But Wednesday and Thursday would still be a time that you could do business with them. So why is Shmuel saying that all days are out? So now based on this, the Gemara says, Aliba de Rabbi Shmuel, like Kami Boyali. According to Rabbi Shmuel, that says that the Issa to do the business with the guy before and after, so there's taka no shaila. That's the Hein Beloy Ideyan. That it means the 3 days and then there's the day of the holiday itself. Just like we see, the Rishonim say, just like we see Rabbi Shmuel is machmer, that it's before and after, according to Rabbi Shmuel, the number of the 3 days means 3 without the day of the holiday. But Kikami Bayali, according to who is the Shaila here, so then according to him, it should be always Aser, right? But Kikami Bayali, according to who is the Shaila, Aliba de Rabbanan. According to the Rabbana that are not as stringent as Rabbi Shmuel, the Rabbana say that after is not a problem. So Shaila is my. According to them, when it says 3 days before, does it mean 3 days before besides the holiday or 3 days including the holiday? Amar Ravina, so Ravina says, Toshama, let's bring a raya from the following Braisa, where it says, this is on Daf Ches, it's actually a Mishnah there, on Daf Ches. So it says as follows: these are the holidays of the Goyim, Kalanda, Satrunya, there's another gears over there, Satrunya, okay, and the Kartasim. That's their days of Avoda Zara, that you have to be careful not to do business with them. When is this Kalanda? It's Ches Yomim. It's a holiday that's for 8 days, Achat Kufa, that begins right after the Kufa of the winter, that starts in Tevis. I think it's called the Solstice in English. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so those 8 days right at the beginning of the Kufa of the winter. That's Kalanda. Satrunya is Shmeina Yomim Lufnei Kufa. That's the last 8 days, right before that Kufa of the winter begins. That's how long the holiday is. 8 days. Now, the siman to know what these 2 holidays that it mentioned here is Acher v'Kedem Tzartani, the pasuk where it says Acher v'Kedem, which is referring simply to the way Adam Rishon was created, Acher and Kedem, but it says Acher before Kedem, what's behind before what's in the front. So over here as well, the 2 holidays that are mentioned, Kalanda refers to the holiday that comes after Satrunya, because Kalanda is after, once it begins the winter season, and the Satrunya is the end of the season before. Okay, that's what it says in the Mishnah. So now, if you're going to say that when the Mishnah talks about the number of the 3 days, the 3 days includes the holiday as well. So over here, if the holiday itself is 8 days, so then it shouldn't be 3 days. Asara havon, it should be 10 days. If when it's saying the number is including the holiday, so if the holiday itself is 8 days, so that should be 10 days. If you say that the number 3 is besides the holiday, so then it's the 3 days, and then the holiday is 8 days. So then the number 3 makes sense. But if the number 3 is including the holiday, so since the holiday itself is 8 days, it should have said in the Mishnah 10 days. So the Gemara says it's not a raya. Tane kule kalanda chad yoyma v'choshev. The entire holiday of this calendar, he counts as 1 day, even though it's really 8 days, but it's all the same. It's all the holiday, which lasts for 8 days. So he counts it as 1 day. So therefore you could still say that the number 3 includes the holiday as well. Amar Ravashi says, Toshama, let's bring a raya from the Lashon of the Mishnah in the beginning of the Masechta that we're discussing. What's the Mishnah's Lashon? It says, Lifnei a day and shel evdik echavim shloisha yomim, before the holiday of Avoda Zara, 3 days. That's when you're not allowed to do all these dealings with a guy. If you're going to say the number 3 means including the day of the holiday, so listen, the language of the Mishnah should have been different. A day and shel evdik echavim shloisha yomim. The holiday of the Avoda Zara for 3 days. You're not allowed to do these dealings with them. Right? So not lifnei dayan. What does the Mishnah say? Before a day and before their holidays, 3 days. Why before 3 days? If you're going to say it includes the holiday itself, it should have said this kind of language that the holiday of the Goyim 3 days. Then you would understand that the number 3 days includes the holiday itself. And if you'll argue and say that this lashon would still not be clear, Haydektani lifnei edayin has to say lifnei before, because the whole point of the Tana of this Mishnah is he's coming to say l'mu'ute la'achar edayin. He wants to make it clear that the Isser only is before and not after, like the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. But still, the Gemara says the Mishnah should have used a different language. Listen, it should have said Edom shel ovdei kechavim, the holiday of Avoda Zara, Gimel Yomim Lifneihem, 3 days before. That's when you can't do the dealings with them. So here, in this lashon, it would be clear that when it says the 3 days, it includes the day of the holiday itself. But the language of our Mishnah, that it says Lifnei Eidein Shel Ovdei Kechavim Shloisha Yomim, that clearly means before the day of the holiday. So so therefore the language of the Mishnah implies Heim Beloy Eidein, that it's the 3 days besides the day of the holiday. Shmamina, the Lashon of the Mishnah, proves this point. The Gemara asks another shaila, and this is a fundamental shaila in understanding what's b'chlal, the source of this Isser, to do these dealings with a guy in the holidays of the Avoda Zara. Is it mishom harvacha? Is the reason that there's an Isser for this is because of harvacha, meaning that when you do these dealings with a guy, he's gaining from this, he's enjoying what you're doing with him, and therefore as a result, what's going to happen is he's going to come and thank his Avoda Zara for the gain that he got. And what's the Isser here? So Rashi brings, a Yid by doing this is going to be over on what it says in the Pasuk, Lo Yishama Al Picha, that the word of the name of Avoda Zara should not be heard through you. Lo Yishama means it shouldn't even be heard through you. So by you doing this business with him and causing him to then go and thank his Avoda Zara, you're causing this to happen. It would seem simply from what Rashi says that this would be a Isser Minatayra if you cause this. Rashi is bringing this pasuk, but the Rishayim, the Mefarshim will say that it's only a takana b'derabbanan because Lo Yisham Al Picha simply means that a Yid is causing that the name of Avoda Zara should be said, but when he's causing it directly, not in this way, when he's selling something to a goy or is causing a goy a harvacha, and then the goy goes and thanks, that's indirect, that's not Isser Minatayra. But the point of here is that the Isser is because you caused the guy to thank his Avoda Zara. Or perhaps, the reason is because when you sell something to a guy, so then he takes what you sell him, you're selling him a behemoth, and he takes that animal, and he goes and sacrifices it for his Avoda Zara. So this is Lifnei Ivilei Sitem Michshel, you're causing the guy to serve Avoda Zara. That's the problem. Says the Gemara, what's a practical difference between these two reasons? The difference would be in a case where the Islay Behemah Lididei, if the guy has his own behemah that he was going to use for his Avoda Zara. If the Isser is that you're selling to a guy and he's gaining, he's buying a new behemah, so hakamar even if he already has his be'emah for his Avoda Zara, but you're selling him something and he's gaining, he's going to come and thank his Avoda Zara. The Isser would still apply. But if the issue is that you're causing him to stumble to serve Avoda Zara, and that's even by Bnei Noach, that they're not allowed to serve Avoda Zara, it's part of the Sheva Mitzvahs Bnei Noach, and the Lifnei Ivra applies even by a guy that you're causing him to serve Avoda Zara. So but over here he has his own behemoth, so you're not causing him to do this Isser, he's going to do it anyways. So if you're not causing it, so therefore the Isser of Lifnei Iver would not apply. You can sell him a behemoth, you could do these business dealings with him before his holiday. Okay, just to clarify over here regarding the Shaila of the Gemara and the Nafkamina, the Gemara says, so some Rishonim say, I think that Rashba says, that the Gemara could have said a simpler Nafkamina. The Gemara should have just simply said, if the Isser is that you don't want the guy to come and thank his Avoda Zara, so then you're not allowed to do any kind of business dealings with him. You can't sell him anything. Whatever it is that you sell him, he's going to come and thank his Avoda Zara for getting this. But if it's for Lifnei Iver, you're going to cause him to use what you're selling him for his Avoda Zara, so that would be only for something that he would use for his Avoda Zara, mamish directly, like a behemoth that he's going to sacrifice for Avoda Zara. So it only applies to a behemoth, not to anything else. So the Rashba says, Enochanami, that nafkamina is poshut. The Gemara doesn't have to point it out. The Gemara is adding, even regarding a behemoth, there's another nafkamina, whether it's for harvacha or for lifnei iver, in a case where he already owns another behemoth, could you sell him a second behemoth? That's one point. Another point that Rishayna point out is that it seems like the Gemara is asking this shaila only regarding the first halacha of the Mishnah about doing business with a guy, selling to a guy. But there was the other details that the Mishnah said. You're not allowed to borrow from a guy or lend to a guy, and the other additional dealings that the Mishnah said. Over there it's clear that it's not because of lifnei iver. You're not giving him anything that he's going to use for his Avoda Zara. Over there it's clear that it's because he's gaining and he's going to come and thank his Avoda Zara. The Mishnah wants to know the first case, the Gemara that is, wants to know the first case we're talking about selling to a guy. What's that Isser? Is that Isser also because of Arvacha, or is it because of Lifnei Iver? Okay, but now the Gemara asks on the answer that it said here, or this nafkamina that it said, that in a case where the guy has his own behemoth for his Avoda Zara, there's no issue of you selling him another behemoth because there's no Lifnei Iver. He's going to serve his Avoda Zara already. He already has a behemoth for his Avoda Zara. fact, the Gemara about Chi Islay, when the guy has his own behemoth for his Avoda Zara, Loi Ava Mishum Lifnei Iver Leisita Michshel. Are you not going to be over on Lifnei Iver when you give him another behemoth that he could use for his Avoda Zara? Well, Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, Omer Rab Nosson. Rab Nosson said regarding this Isser of Lifnei Iver, Minayin, from where do we know Shaloi Yoshid Adam Kais Shal Yayin LeNazir? A person should not offer a glass of wine to a Nazir that's not allowed to drink wine. Or ve'ever min achai lebnei noyach. You shouldn't offer an aver from a living animal, which is an isra even for a lebnei noyach, for a guy. You shouldn't give this to him to eat. Talmud Lamed, the pasuk says, "V'lifnei iver leisita michshoel," that you should not cause someone to stumble on an isra. Now, v'hahacha, in these two examples that Rab Nosson says here, even if you're not going to give it to this nazir or to this guy, shakle, he's going to go and take it on his own anyways. It's not you that's making it available to him. He's going to take it on his own. And when you actually give it to him, so you over on lifnei iver. So here as well, even if the guy has his own behemoth that he could bring for his Avoda Zara, but if you give him another behemoth that he could bring for Avoda Zara, you should be over on lifnei iver. And says the Gemara, hacha b'maya skina. In this case, that Rab Nosson said, what is it talking about? The koi betrei ivri nara, that the wine and the nazir, or the guy that is, and the yid that has the evim and achai are on two opposite sides of the river, and the guy can't reach it, or the nazir can't reach it on his own, and you offer it and give it to him, and he could not get it on his own. Only then are you over on lifnei iver. But if it's something that he could have gotten on his own, you're not going to be over. Dekanami, the Gemara says, I'll prove you this point, that this halach of Rab Nosson is talking about when it's two sides of a river and he couldn't reach it on his own, Diktani, because the lashon that was said here is, lo yeshit. Do not stretch out your hand to give it to him. V'loikatani lo yitin. It doesn't use a simpler term, don't give it to him. Why does it use the term yeshit? Yeshit means that you're stretching out your hands and giving it to him when it's far and he couldn't reach it on his own. Shema Mina, that proves that the halacha of lifnei iver only applies when the one that you're causing to stumble in this Aveda, he could not have gotten it on his own. Okay, but the actual ibaya that the Gemara asked before regarding lifnei iver or harvache, the Gemara here doesn't prove that, doesn't answer that. Just another thing to point out regarding lifnei iver, this concept, the Gemara, it's always quoted. This is a famous thing that it always says regarding lifnei iver, that it's only betrei iver nara, only if the person that you're causing to stumble on this Aveda couldn't have gotten it on his own. And here in this halacha of the two examples that are brought here, it brings specifically these two examples: wine for a nazir and evim and achai for a goy. Why does it bring dafka these two examples? Why not any example of giving non-kosher food to a yid? What's dafka these examples? So the Mefarshim say that there's a chiddush in both of these examples. By the nazir, the chiddush is that lifnei iver applies even though this is an issur that you're not a nazir and you're offering it to a nazir. The issur of lifnei iver applies. There would have been a svara to say that lifnei iver only applies if this is an issur that's also for you as well. Then you can't give it to someone else that has a issur. And the reason is, and the Rebbe speaks about this in one place, there's a svara to say that lifnei iver is a prat, it's a detail in the etzem issur. There's the issur of drinking wine for a nazir. Another detail of that issur includes also not to give someone else that's a nazir to drink that wine. Here when it says that even if you're not a nazir, you're not allowed to give it to a nazir, that means that lifnei iver is an issur for itself, even if you're not a nazir. And then there's the chiddush that lifnei iver applies by a guy. There would be a svara to say that lifnei iver only applies by yidden. And here it's bringing this case of a guy to say that lifnei iver applies even by a guy as well. Okay, another Yibaya, the Gemara says, Yibaya lohu, the Shaila was asked, Nosa v'nosan mai. If you did do the business with a guy and you bought something from them, or you sold him and he paid you, the guy paid you for what you sold him in this time, in the 3 days before his holiday, so mai, what's with this money? Can you use it? Could you have a nar from it or not? Rabbi Yechanan says, Nosa v'nosan osa. If you did this business with a guy and you made money, so you're not allowed to use this money. Reish Lakish says, Nasa v'nosan b'diavad. If you sold to a guy before his holiday and you have money now, mutter, you can use this money. Eis v'Rabbi Yechanan Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yechanan asks Reish Lakish from what it says in the Braisa, a day and shalev dikichavim. The Braisa says that in the holidays of Goyim, Nasa v'nosan, if you did business with them, asurin, you're not allowed to use the money that you made from this. So it clearly says that it's asur. But now it said a dayan. that's the business that you did with him on the day of his holiday. So Rabbi Yochanan says, my love, don't you think? What does this mean? Lufnei dayan, same would be also the business dealings that you do with him from the 3 days before, because the Isra begins from before already. So Shlakish says, loy, that's not how you understand this brayse. A day and dafka. The business dealings you do with him on the day of the holiday, the money you make from that would be aser. But from the 3 days before, that b'di'evet would not be aser. Ikadamri, others say that the discussion from this brayse went in the opposite. Eisvei Rab Shimon ben Lakish Rab Yochanan. Reish Lakish asked Rab Yochanan from this brayse because it says, "Ei dein shleiv dikachavim nasa v'nasan asa." If you made money from the guy on the day of his Avoda Zara, then it's aser. So a day and in the isser is only on the day of the holiday. Lifnei a day in, but for anything that you made from 3 days before, loy, that's what you earned from before is not going to be aser. And then this the Gemara says, Tani. Tana idi v'idi edayan. Sorry, Tana that is the Tana idi v'idi edayan karilei. He refers to edayan, the day of the holiday, both the day of the holiday itself and also the 3 days before is also regarding this Isra called the holiday itself. So there's no question on Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, but now here the Gemara though brings Tanya kavasei the Reish Lakish. We learned a clear brayse that says like Reish Lakish that b'di'evet, if you did business, then the money you earned will be mutter. Kisha amru, so the brayse begins with another halacha. When it was said that asal velosis imam, that you're not allowed to do the business with a guy in this time, lo asr elo bedover hamiskayim. 3 days before the holiday, don't sell him something that will be miskayim, which he'll still have on the holiday itself. And then, since he has it on the holiday itself, he's going to be happy about it and he'll thank his Avoda Zara. But if you sell him 3 days before the holiday, something which he won't have with him on the holiday itself. Rashi says, for example, you sell him vegetables that he's not keeping it till the day of his holiday. It's going to be gone by that point. Then it's not a problem. You can sell him before, even in the 3 days before. Now, even if it's something which will last until his holiday, nosav v'nosan b'di'evet, if you did sell him this, mutter. It'll be mutter to use this. So here it says clearly, like Reish Lakish, that b'di'evet, it's mutter to have enough from the money that you earned from the sale. Tani Rav Zvid b'debei Rab Oishia. Rav Zvid taught a brayse by Rab Oishia. Davar she'em eskayim, as just mentioned, like a vegetable, something that will not last until his holiday, moichrim lehem, so in the 3 days before you can sell it to him. Aval ein loikre mehem. But even something that will not last, you can't buy it from the guy. Why? Because you're paying the guy. And the money that you're paying him, he's happy and he has that money and he's going to go thank his Avoda Zara. Not only that, by something which will not last, the guy is actually looking to sell it as soon as possible because if not, he's not going to be able to sell it. It's going to get ruined. So the guy is very happy to sell it to you and he's very happy that he was able to get rid of something that he made money from it. According to Rashi, actually, what this brayse is saying over here is the isser to buy from a guy in the 3 days before his Avoda Zara is only if you're buying something which is not going to last. If you're buying something from a guy, then it would last. You could have bought it from him now, you could have bought it from him a different time, then there's no isser that the guy will go and thank his Avoda Zara because the guy could have sold it to you a different time. He doesn't have a special happiness about this. Only something which he was going bad and he was able to sell you now, before it went bad, that's what you're not allowed to buy from a guy. That's when he'll go and thank his Avoda Zara. Okay, the Gemara brings an incident that happened in connection to this. Ahu mino. There was this heretic, the Shadalei Dinarek Hisreina Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. He sent this new minted dinar, this new coin that the Kaiser minted to Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was a grandson of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. And this was B'yay Meidai, on the day of the holiday of the Avoda Zara. And he's receiving this from a guy. So Havi Yosef Reish Lakish Kamei, Reish Lakish was sitting in front of Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. So Omar Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya said, Heichi Avid, what should I do here? Ashkelei, should I take this new minted coin from him? Azul Umayda, I know that this will cause him to be happy that I'm receiving this gift from him and he's going to come to thank his Avoda Zara. Lo Yashkelei, should I not take it from him? Havile Eva. So he's going to be angry with me. I'm going to cause Eva, hatred, and that's also not allowed. So what should I do? Amalei Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish says, Toil, take it from him, and don't have enough from it. And make it clear that you're not having any enough from it, and throw it into a pit. So Omar, Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya says, what kind of advice is this? He would definitely become angry at me. I'm taking this new minted coin that he's giving me as a gift, and I'm throwing his gift into the garbage. So Rish Lakish says, that's not what I meant. What I meant is Kala Achayadu to come in. Take it from him and make believe as if it somehow slipped out of his hands, or like it by mistake fell into the garbage and you won't have a no from it. Okay, now going back to the Mishnah, the additional things that the Mishnah said, besides selling, buying, additional things the Mishnah said that you shouldn't be doing with a guy in the 3 days before the holiday. Lash ilan velusha mehen chulu, you shouldn't lend them anything or borrow from them. So the Gemara asks, it's understood why you're not allowed to lend a guy the karmar v'chulu, because you're causing the guy a gain, and he'll go and thank his Avoda Zara. Aval lishol mehen, but to borrow from the guy, you're taking something from him, and he's losing from this in this time period where you're taking it away from the guy. Why would that cause him to thank his Avoda Zara? Why shouldn't it be allowed? So Amar Abaye says the answer is Gzeide lishol mehem otul ashilon. It's a Gzeide that if you're going to borrow, so you're borrowing from him, so the guy will then come and ask, oh, do you have this to lend me? You may come to lend him. So it's a Gzeide not to borrow in order not to come to lend to the guy. Rava says, no, kulo mishom the azla maidahu. Just like lending the guy, the isser is that the guy is gaining and he'll thank his Avoda Zara. Borrowing from the guy, there's also chashash that'll come and thank his Avoda Zara, because the reason is the guy is going to say to himself, look, the Yid needs me. I am the one that I'm lending to the guy. And that itself is a gain for the guy, that he's happy that he'll thank his Avoda Zara. Okay, the Gemara will point out a similar thing regarding the additional things that the Mishnah said. The same machlokes between Abaye and Rava. You're not allowed to lend the guy, or you're not allowed to borrow from the guy. And this is regarding money. Lishel she'ela, that's an object that you borrow and you return the object, that this is money. Now, you're not allowed to lend money to a guy, you're causing him a gain. Man, but to borrow money from the guy, amai, why isn't that allowed? Amar Abaye, so Abaye says, it's a gzeida that you're not allowed to borrow from the guy in order not to come to lend money to the guy. Rava says, all of this is the same thing, that the guy will come and thank his Avoda Zara. When you borrow money from the guy is happy that the Yid needs him. And that itself will be a reason for him to thank his Avoda Zara. Similar thing the Gemara says regarding the next case in the Mishnah, to pay up a loan to a guy, or to have the guy pay his loan to you in these 3 days is not allowed. So it's understood why you're not allowed to pay your loan to the guy in this time. You're causing him a gain. But to have the guy pay up his loan, you're taking his money from him. Why would he be happy about this? It's a gzeida not to pay the guy in order not to have the guy come and pay you. Or the other way around. You're not allowed to have the guy pay you in order not to come to pay the guy. Rava says, that all of these cases, the guy is happy about the fact that he paid up his loan. The guy is now happy. Oh, I got rid of this loan. So that itself makes him happy, and he thanks his Avoda Zara. So basically, as you see here, all these cases are a similar thing, that it causes the guy a gain, and therefore he might come to thank his Avoda Zara. So the Gemara explains with Tzirichi, it's necessary for the Mishnah to spell out the Isurim in all these cases. Because the Itan Elasas Velasas Simoan, if it would say in the Mishnah only the first halacha that you don't do business dealings with a guy, you don't sell to a guy, or buy from a guy in certain instances, because there it's clear that he's having a gain when he's buying from you, and he'll come to thank his Avoda Zara. But when you're borrowing from a guy, you're borrowing something, you're taking an object from him, so you're taking away from him. So shapidami, I would think that that's allowed. And so therefore it has to say that even there, it's also either because of the Gzeida, or because even there he'll also come and thank his Avoda Zara. Now, if it would say this case, you're not allowed to borrow, and you're borrowing an object from the guy. Because for the guy, this is something which makes him feel very prominent. Oh, look, I have, and the Yid needs me, and he takes from me. And he'll come and thank his Avoda Zara. But in a case where you're borrowing money from a guy, over here in this case, you're taking money from the guy, and it's just causing him pain. Why? Because the guy says, this money, he may not pay up his loan. If you borrow an object from a guy, so the object you use and you return. But when you borrow money, so the guy thinks to himself, I'm lending money to this Yid, I don't know if he's going to pay me back. So here he's not going to thank his Avoda Zara. So therefore it has to say that this is also also. And then v'itana lilvas, man, if it would say that you're not allowed to borrow from the guy, I would say that mishum de ka'amar, in this case, the guy does say, I will get my payment. I will force him to pay me back. So he doesn't have any pain with this. Adarabi, he's happy that the Yid needs him. V'hashte miya azal amayda, also he'll come and thank his Avoda Zara. Aval lipara mehen, but to have a guy pay his loan, so the Sule Hadri Zuzi, so a guy is paying up his loan, so he's just giving away his money, he's paying up his loan, he's never getting this money back. I would say that this is just something painful for the guy, and he's not going to thank his Avoda Zara, so it should be allowed. So therefore it has to say that even this is not allowed because the guy is happy about the fact that he's relieved that he paid up his loan, and he's going to thank his Avoda Zara. Okay, let's see one more piece over here. Rabbi Yehuda argues on this last case. Rabbi Yehuda says, Nefrayim mehen, you could have the guy pay his loan in these 3 days before his holiday. And Rabbi Yehuda says, because it's only a tsar. And the Mishnah goes on to say that the Chachamim argued back to Rabbi Yehuda and said, even if it's painful for the guy to pay up his loan, but right afterwards he realizes that it's good for him. He paid up his loan and he's happy about this, and he'll thank his Avoda Zara. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't agree to this logic. The last layer that Rabbi Yehuda not agree that Aval Pisha Meitza Achshav, that when the guy pays up his loan, even if he's upset that he has to pay his loan, but afterwards he'll be happy that he finally paid up his loan. Hatanya, regarding a different case, we see that Rabbi Yehuda says that you do look at the future that comes out. Because Rabbi Yehuda says, Isha leisasud b'mayit, a woman should not place lime on her face on Cholamayit, and it's done to make the face shine beautifully or to remove hairs. It shouldn't be done on Cholamayit because while the lime is on the face, it doesn't look nice. Now, but even though when you take it off, that makes the face look red and shine nicely, but b'shas ma'isa, when the lime is on the face, it doesn't look nice, and it's therefore Cholamayit is not the time for this. But however, Rabbi Yehuda would agree if this lime that's placed on the face, it's peeled off within Cholamayid itself, so then you're allowed to put this lime on the face on Cholamayid and then remove it. Because even if while it's applied, it's something which is painful, or it doesn't look nice, but if you're removing it on Cholamayid, so then on Cholamayid itself, she'll be happy about this. So what do you see here? What Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that even on Cholamayid, where it's something that when you do it, is tsar, but if it leads to simcha afterwards, it's allowed. So we should say the same thing here. When the guy pays his loan, when b'shas ma'aseh yes tsar, but afterwards it leads him to simcha and he'll thank his Avoda Zara. So the Gemara gives two answers. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, Hanach lehilchas mayid. You can't prove anything from the halachas of Cholamayid. The kulu meitzar achshav, all cases by Cholamayid, it's something where there's pain now and simcha, or the Bach says v'sameach la'achazman, and it's happiness that comes afterwards. Anything that's allowed in Cholamayid. So Rashi says, for example, to shecht an animal in Cholamayid. You shecht the animal b'shas ma'aseh. When you're shechting the animal, you have simcha yet? No, it's a whole effort to shecht the animal, and you're killing your animal. There's no simcha then. The simcha comes afterwards when you eat the meat. And similar, all kinds of other things that they allow to do on Cholamayid. B'shas ma'aseh, it's something which is a loss or an effort, and then later comes the simcha. But it's allowed for the purpose of the simcha of Yom Tov. So over there, at that case, when there's simcha later, it's allowed for the purpose of Yom Tov. But for our case, when the guy has a tsar b'shas ma'aseh, there's no issue. Ravina says a different answer. Rabbi Yehuda's logic is, Oivet k'chavim le'inyan pirayim la'olam meitzar. When a guy pays up his loan, he's upset about this. And it's not that later he realizes, finally I paid up my loan, and he gets happy about it. It's not, because this guy, when he pays up his loan, he may have never been planning to pay his loan at all. So the fact that he paid up his loan, it's not a relief for him. It's like, okay, I was forced to pay my loan. He wasn't planning on paying it. So therefore, for the guy, it's only a tsar, according to Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore this is allowed to be done within the 3 days before his holiday.